I was sick until I was 53 because until I started a keto diet and fully took out the wheat out of my diet, I could not heal. I lost 20 pounds and then nothing for 3 long years of weight loss resistance. I had so much visceral fat around my stomach that I couldn't get rid of it. Finally, I took a food sensitivity test and I discovered that I have a red sensitivity to dairy. Do you feel overwhelmed about dieting, how to lose stubborn weight, and stop the weight gain, especially as a woman over 50? If that sounds like you, you're in the right place. Join me below for my free webinar, and let's start your journey to feeling confident, healthy, and slender at any age. You need to be able to discover your food sensitivities to turn off the inflammation in your body, to get your body to be able to lose weight naturally. That is a foundational step that I focus on with my private clients. And I run the MRT, Oxford Food Sensitivity Test, that tests for over 176 foods and chemicals. Because believe it or not, you could be reacting to the chemicals you've been eating all along. I had one client that used to eat a lot of hot Cheetos. She got caught with that red dye as one of her most highest food sensitivities. And so you got to look at everything that you're ingesting to see which foods that you are actually reacting to at the antigen level. So I like this food sensitivity test because it really does check for those immune reactions that you're having, an antigen reaction at the white blood cell. And so this is a blood draw test, but it is so important because with the weight loss that I focus on, which is not just the only focus, but it is what all of my clients want. But when you turn off the inflammation in your body, I see miracles happen. Well, I had one client that just taken out her food sensitivities, and this is going into a low carb diet, taking out the wheat, the sugar, the grains, and 9 days into her program, she texted me or called me or told me, she goes, "Oh my God, I don't have any more foot pain. When I get up in the morning and go to the bathroom, that foot pain goes away." That's inflammation. That is inflammation from food sensitivities. You have pain in your body is talking to you. You need to turn off the pain of inflammation in your body to get your body to be healthy, to lose the weight. This is a foundational process that I work with every single client. And this is a critical situation that needs to be addressed because I was sick and fat for most of my life because I was eating the foods that I was sensitive to. I was eating the wheat and the dairy and the sugar and the grains, and I had depression, asthma, allergies, asthmatic, and having sinusitis and bronchitis almost all the time. That was uncomfortable to live with. And I couldn't go out in spring without taking an inhaler, a breathing machine. So if I went camping, I had a breathing machine with me. Well, guess what? That's all gone. It was all inflammation. I don't have that anymore. The only time it can pop back in is if you let your body get inflamed and you forget to check to take your labs and to see what's going on with your body. And I did that. So recently I did end up with some asthma only because I brought in my food sensitivity. I brought back in some goat dairy that I'm sensitive to. I am red sensitive to dairy and red sensitive to wheat. So if you're eating those foods, you're in a constant state of chronic inflammation and they need to come out. But you might not even know what your food sensitivities are unless you run that MRT test. So that's why over 88% of the population is sick and unhealthy and headed towards disease and diabetes and Alzheimer's, is because you're eating the foods you are sensitive to. How simple is it to take a food sensitivity test that can cost anywhere from $400 to $600 or less? Because if you work with me, I get it for you for less. If you take it as a retail, it's going to cost you more. And when you get this food sensitivity test, you're going to discover how much you're reacting to wheat, whether you're reacting to the trifecta of the B-cell antigen response, which is wheat, dairy, and corn. If you're reacting to all three of those, you're having a huge immune system response. And every time you eat those foods, you're creating an inflammatory cascade in your body. That's 6 months of inflammation every single time you take a bite of those foods. That's how the body reacts to this. And that is a superstorm in your body. And that's why you have so much pain, stiffness, inflammation. And, that leads to neuropathy. It leads to damaged blood vessels because this is inflammation, and it damages your heart vessels and makes your muscles stiffer. So when we get the right nutrients, hydration, digestion, And then next step is the food sensitivity test, which is going to help you figure out what foods your body is reacting to. Now, it could be that a lot of these foods that you're reacting to, and it could be healthy ones too, like blueberries and strawberries and pineapples, you can come up sensitive to different foods in your body. I noticed one client had a huge histamine issue, and when I looked at and analyzed his MRT test, it was showing signs of histamine reaction, which was really fascinating. And then there's others who react to candida. So you can see a candida inflammation in your body will show up on an MRT. And it may or may not show up on your GI map test. And that's why we actually do more than one test so that we can correlate with each different test to see what's going on in the body. But we could discover issues of tyramine, which is a lot of fermented foods that might need to be taken out of your diet. There could be issues with histamine. There could be issues with like low DAO, and DAO is needed to actually degrade histamine. And if you are actually eating foods that are degrading your DAO and it's already low, you're going to end up with more eczema, psoriasis, and itchiness, and you're going to end up with more hives and welts in your diet, and you don't even know why you're reacting to these things. But we could discover things with food sensitivity test and with testing to find out what's going on at the antigen level, at the cellular level, figure out where you need to go to heal your body naturally, to get your body back to homeostasis, fix the vital voids, get the foundations shored up. This is foundational process that needs to happen. If you want weight loss and you're stuck, you're stalled, and you're having weight loss resistance, there's so many things that we can do, but the food sensitivity test is one of the ones. It's my foundational process, one of the things that I do with every single client to determine how sensitive to dairy you are, how sensitive to wheat you are, which proteins you're reacting to. Are you reacting to eggs? Are you even reacting to beef? If you're a carnivore reacting to eggs and beef and pork, then you need to know that, because there's going to be so much inflammation in the body. And so this is something that's so important that needs to be addressed before you go on to the next level of your protocol. So in the beginning, what I start my clients on is, and that's why I only work with low carb nutrition, because there are a lot of food sensitivities and wheat and dairy are really high up there. And so you have to take wheat out to heal your body. If you want to be in a healing state, you want to reclaim your health, you want to have health for longevity, for aging beautifully and adventurously, the wheat has to go. If it doesn't go, you're going to be in an inflammatory state. I see this all the time. That's why I was sick until I was 53, because until I started a keto diet and fully took out the wheat out of my diet, I could not heal. And then the next step, because I lost 20 pounds when I took out the wheat, the sugar, and the grains. However, I didn't take out dairy. So I lost 20 pounds initially, and then nothing for 3 long years of weight loss resistance. And I had so much visceral fat around my stomach that I couldn't get rid of it, but I didn't know what it was that I was supposed to do. And so finally, I took a food sensitivity test, and I discovered that I have a red sensitivity to dairy. And I would be drinking the whey shakes. I would be getting congested. I didn't know. I didn't know until I tested. As soon as I took that out, the allergies got less and less, and the asthma went away. So asthma is an inflammatory condition. Eating foods you are sensitive to. If you've got asthma, if you have psoriasis, if you have anything happening on your skin, and if you have any pain in your body, stiffness even is a symptom of being unhealthy. When you have symptoms, what we're going to do is discover what's causing the problem. And I help you do that as your practitioner, your collaborator, and your partner in health. I'm your health detective practitioner, helping you put your body back together again. And so I already did one video on minerals, hydration, and digestion. So if you missed that one, go back and check it out. This video is on your food sensitivities and why we need to start with low carb nutrition to get rid of the very big food sensitivities causing your body to have an inflammatory state, to be insulin resistant. And so we need to lower your blood sugar, take out the foods that raise your blood sugar, and then take out the foods that are causing inflammation specifically to you and your blood. so that you can get your body healthy, to lose the weight, to turn off the inflammation. I had one client that went through my program, and it was so exciting. She was 6 months in, or less than 6 months into the program, and she said she was 95% less pain in her body by taking out those food sensitivities, fixing her body back up, patching up all the cracks, doing her protocol. 95% less pain. How would you like to have a life where you can go from not being able to walk around, collapsing after meals, having to lay down all the time because you're just sick and inflamed, and you have inflammation, and your body can't hold you up, and your feet hurt, swelling, you know? That's not the way to live. So the way to fix that is we fix hydration, we fix digestion, we fix mineral balance, and we start with removing your food sensitivities. Now, you're going to get a food sensitivity test that's going to show the foods that you are least reacting to in the green. Those are the ones you want to eat first for the first 10 days. And then it's going to show you your yellow reactions and your red reactions. So we take out all yellow for 3 months. We take out all the reds for 6 months. And then at some point, you can evaluate with your body how you're going to feel with these foods by bringing them back and challenging your body. So for the very first 10 days, you take out all the reactive foods and only eat what you are very minimally reacting to for first 10 days. That's when the pain turns off. And I've had one client that was such a big bread eater and a lot of arthritis. And when she took that out, she's down 50 pounds and no arthritis. And then if she brings back the wheat, the arthritis pops right back. And she even noticed the same thing with candy. So there was the candy connection, which is the sugar, which turns on your inflammatory response and turns up the insulin levels, and the wheat, which turns on inflammation that can cause arthritis and autoimmunity in your body, in everybody. Even if you're not noticing it specifically, it is happening. And it can take 10 to 12 years before this can manifest, per Dr. Tom O'Brien, per studies that they've done on veterans that are showing that within 10 to 12 years of having the wheat in your diet, you will have an autoimmunity issue. That's Hashimoto's, that's MS, that's fibromyalgia. There's a lot. You don't want any of them. And the thing is, if you get one autoimmunity, you get others, and they stack on each top of each other, and that's all gut related. But the best thing you can do is take out the foods that you are reacting to and discover how reactive you are to certain foods. Like I was saying, I'm red reactive to wheat and dairy. Those are forever foods for me. Basically, I'm very minimally eat dairy. I have mostly cheese because cheese does not have as much dairy protein, as more fat. So I can tolerate some of the cheeses. But I just experimented with goat yogurt again after years of not having little dairy. And I reacted hugely to it because I also have H. pylori popped in, and I have a little bit of dysbiosis. So I'm working on my own gut. The party's over. I'm working on this. We're kicking ass on that, and they're going to get that party out of my body. So I brought back the dairy. And I went into asthma. First time in 7 years I've had asthma from the congestion, from the dairy. And so that is a forever food for me. But I do have it on holidays. I have it occasionally, but I do not do it daily because I can't. And so you need to know those things. And you might not know. See, the problem is if you don't take all of your food sensitivities out at the same time, you don't know what's causing the major problem in your body. And so when we do take all the yellows and reds out of your body for 3 to 6 months, and then you can then listen and hear which foods you eat, which are causing problems. So I just had a client bring back some chili peppers, and she's highly sensitive to the chili peppers on her food sensitivity test. She got sick, she had some diarrhea, and her body was definitely telling her that is an immune reaction, and it's a toxin to her. And so it opened up the zonulin. So you have zonulin in your intestinal tract, and it's supposed to open and close to let things in and out of your body. And so what did it do? It wide open, flushed it all out of her body. The body's like, that's a toxin. Let's get rid of it. And so that's what's going to happen when you have less noise in your body from eating the foods, less of the food sensitivities your body's going to have. It's going to like step forward and it's going to say, hey, what was that? Did you feel that? That's not right. Let's get it out of your body. Often I would get elbow pain. It's the really silliest thing, but my elbows would start hurting. And that's when I knew I was eating something that I was reacting to, because that went away. For the most part, I hardly ever get that anymore. But in the very beginning, when I was doing my food sensitivity, still snacking on things I shouldn't have had, those were some reactions that I would get. And so these are things that we want to manage. We want to manage and look at your eggs. You could be a food sensitivity with the egg white and not the egg yolk, or you could have the egg yolk and not the egg white. And it could be that you're reacting to corn and soy, because if you're reacting to corn and soy and your animals ate corn and soy and you ate that animal, people react to chickens that have been fed genetically modified corn and soy. So then you need a free range chicken. And I've had a client that happened to. And so there's a lot of people who could eat more free range eggs than they can traditional eggs. And so those are some things that we're always going to troubleshoot to see what specifically you're reacting to, what pattern you have in your body, and how can I support you to help you turn off the inflammation in your body. And this is all happening the very first 6 weeks that I work with my clients. And so that's the foundation. If you do not turn off the inflammation in your body, you will be stuck in an inflamed state. You might continue to have insulin resistance as well as weight loss resistance. And it's going to be really hard to get the weight loss that you want to have. And so this is one way to jumpstart weight loss and to help get your body back to health again. And this is critical. And this is how I start my clients with the holistic low carb method in the very first 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how quickly you get your test out. All right. I'll see you soon with the next event.